Today I have a stash busting scrapbook layout for you featuring the Let's Go Anywhere collection. I bought this from Close to My Heart in their January-February catalog, I believe, and I bought lots of it, so it's not the last time you'll be seeing this paper collection. I've been working on a trip to Alaska. Now these are a series of 3x4 photos, and it may seem a little bit random, but this was a very funny moment and definitely worthy of its own layout. So let me go ahead and clear these out of the way. I also have a ton of scraps from this paper collection, so I might be pulling in bits and pieces I have just laid out on the side of my desk here. Now this is going to be a single page layout, and I thought I'd use this. It's kind of a craft color, and there's just a, tiny little pattern on the background there of some squares. And whenever I have a series of photos like this, I like to print them smaller, and then it's really fun to kind of lay them across the center here. Now there's 3x4 with the mat, so I could go all the way across, but I think it might be kind of fun to stagger these just a little bit in more of a playful manner, because it was a fun moment and we were likening our husbands to little kids when they discovered this water pump. So I think it'll be maybe something like that roughly. So we need to bring in some color behind them so those photos really pop off the background. We have a lot of blues and greens in the photo, and then of course tan, and this is almost like mink color of the concrete. You guys, I don't want you to think that my fingernails are dirty. That is ink staining, so don't think, oh my goodness, she needs to wash her hands. I was re-inking my black ink pads, and one of my re-inkers is really old. I mean, this is the new bottle here, and look how old this label is. It's probably like 15, 16 years old, and it just wasn't coming out. So I widened the hole, and yeah, I got the ink pad re-inked, but it put up a big fight. So let's get these laid out here, and I do really like the blue. So maybe we need probably about 5 inches. Let me go ahead and cut that down really quick. I don't think I introduced myself. I was so excited to jump into the project that I just got right to it. So my name's Erin. If you're new here, welcome. I'm so glad that you are joining me today. And you guys know my channel is Crafty Concepts with Erin. So let's see, I think I want these kind of like that. And then when I go to adhere them down, I'll kind of fine tune how you want them, or how I want them. So yeah, maybe something just kind of like that, just slightly askew. I do want to bring in some of this green pattern paper. It has like a city map on the back there, but it just makes great outdoor layouts too, even though it is a city map. So these were scraps. This one is 1x12. This one looks a little smaller. Yep, it's 3/4 by 12. And then this blue piece is 5 inches. So let's put the smaller strip up top, and then we're going to place this one here. I think I actually want to bump these down just a bit so they're more centered. And then there is a zip strip with geotags on it. Let me grab that. Geotags are fun embellishments, and they always work well for any type of travel or exploring, or anytime, hiking, anything like that. I'm going to put this right here, and what's fun about this is it's introducing all the colors in the paper pack. So now we can, pick some colors from here, maybe the scarlet, to bring in some accents. So I need a title. I turned to my stamp collection. These 2 stamp sets coordinate and were created to go along with this collection. I haven't been everywhere, but it's on my list. I love that title. And then of course, great travel icons. And there's this one as well. So this is Let's Go Anywhere Scrapbooking, Let's Go Anywhere Card Making, which I always use my card making on my scrapbook layouts. But I don't think that's quite what I have in mind there. So I went back to my stamp collection and I found this one. It's called Fresh Air. This is a retired stamp, but maybe you have it in your stash. We didn't realize we were making memories. We just knew we were having fun. That's going to be perfect. And then I like this little explore and discover, because that's what they were doing. Here we're in this gorgeous place, and the menfolk find this like water pump, and they're just fascinated, but right? Just an engineering masterpiece, you would think. So it was quite funny, but explore and discover will be perfect. So I do have my title stamp in my MISTI. I wanted to show you these. I know many people were looking for these, and I do, at the time of filming this video, have a few in my inventory. I don't typically carry inventory, but towards the end there, things were crazy, so I did try to grab a few extras just to help out my friends that I knew were looking for them. So I still have some extras. The details will be in the description box below, and if you are one of those that were looking for those stamp sets, you can email me and I will help you out with that. So I have an idea for this. I have mink paper and I want to stamp this in a circle, and I'm going to stamp it twice and cut out the word memories. So these are the Spotlight on Nature dies. They don't quite come like this. I repurposed another envelope. They come in a skinnier envelope, kind of back to back on 2 cardboard pieces. But I think let's try this one here. Some of them have a little bit more floral detail. Some of them are kind of this, well, you'll see when I cut it out. But each one of these has a different pattern. So some of the patterns, you have the same pattern here, but they're different sizes of that pattern. So they're just awesome. So let's see if this is going to fit. I do think that works well. I chose this pattern because it's kind of a more masculine pattern than some of the others. So that is going to work. Let's go ahead and ink up this title stamp here. I'm just using archival black, and I am stamping that onto mink cardstock. So that looks pretty good, but there's a little area towards the bottom that could be a little bit better. So we'll go ahead and ink it up and repeat a second time. Now I am going to use that circle die. I'll go ahead and get that die cut out. Now you can see I could make this work if I had centered it just a little bit better, but my intention is to create a second piece, and we're going to kind of add some dimension and color with the scarlet. So I really only want the center, but I'm inking up the entire stamp. We're going to stamp this in the scarlet color. Scarlet is in the little geotags down there, so I'm going to add accents of that throughout the layout. So I will trim out just the portion that says memories. Let me ink up the edges here. And then we're going to layer this with a little foam tape over our stamped image. And I think this is just going to be a really fun way to use that stamp and just make it even more custom. I do want to add some layers behind my title to create an embellishment cluster. So I've got a large tag from the Buildable Tags set, and I think that's going to fit nicely. So I've got a couple options. There's this plaid paper, and then we've got more of the blue. I think I like the lightness that this plaid paper brings. So I went ahead and cut one out. There's also the tiny little hole reinforcers. So I cut that in sapphire blue to match the background behind the photos. We'll just get that lined up there. Tags always look so much nicer with a little hole reinforcer, don't they? So I'd already adhered this down, so I'm just using my spatula to kind of break the adhesive bond, and then we'll layer our title kind of overlapping the photos and overlapping the tag. We'll bring that back in, and let's go ahead and add some foam tape to this piece because we know that we want that in place so we can get that situated so it's not moving around on us. I went ahead and cut a smaller circle using the Spotlight on Nature dies from mink cardstock, and I think this little Explore and Discover stamp will fit down there, and this is going to draw your eye down and across the layout. But we need some red. Let's look at the sticker sheet. We've got a couple red stickers. Here's an arrow. That could work, but I also like that up here. I paused the camera and went and cut a red circle, thinking maybe we could use that to kind of draw. It's got the same edge there. So I like the red, but then the stamp isn't going to show up as well. So maybe we could layer these. Actually, I have an idea. Let's use a smaller circle to cut out the actual stamp sentiment, and then the red detail edge of that die will be around the outline. Ooh, I like that. Perfect. For my journaling, I am going to create a little journaling card with the Check This Out stamp. It's a little library stamp set. I love having different journaling options in my stamp collection because I know I will go to them over and over and over again. So I'm going to tuck this under. It's kind of a bummer we lose the detail of the top, but that's okay. I want to have a third point of interest, so using the decorative shape dies, I cut a little banner tail from pine green, and I have several scraps to further this embellishment cluster. I actually like the light color. This adds that third point. Do you see how it's like drawing your eye with the 3 points of this lighter color? So I'm going to use a smaller die, and we'll kind of layer those, and maybe we could do kind of a circle, half circle with the blue here. That looks a little funny. Let me trim that down a little bit more. So we were staying at an Airbnb in Haines, Alaska, and we drove up the road to see this gorgeous lake everybody was talking about. And we enjoyed the view, took some photos, and then on the way back to the car, the men folk spotted this water pump, and it was potable water and whatnot. But it was so funny. They spent a considerable amount of time just talking about this, evaluating the mechanics, playing with it. They were just like two little kids having a grand time. So we had a really good laugh over this moment, and you can see we were snapping pictures because it was just too funny. Off and on, I've been working on my December daily. Yes, I do that year round, but I've got this December daily dedicated little tray, and there's some sprigs here. So it was kind of off to the side of my desk, and I thought, those are going to look good. Alaska's very forested, and I'm putting pine cones and pine trees and sprigs all through my Alaska album. So I thought these would be a nice little addition to kind of add an organic, shape to the page. I still have this little red arrow. I could point to the journaling, but I do like the, a little pop of red up here in addition to the word memories. But now I feel like we need red in the upper corner. So I cut a banner tail from red cardstock, and I'm going to switch those out. The pine looked good, but I do like how that creates that third point of red. And now I thought it would be fun to add a couple like sentiment strips or journaling strips, whatever you want to call them. So this stamp set is called Captured Happiness, and this was from Close to My Heart, and it's a collection of sentiments for scrapbooking. So we all have a ton of card making sentiments, right? How cool to have scrapbooking sentiments. So I am choosing words that say captured, and then I'm going to go ahead and trim that down. Let me clean this up and put it away so I don't lose it. It is a smaller stamp. So this one here says happiness, and I like to, you'll see why. I'm going to flip this over, and when I trim it in my trimmer, this just makes it easier. So that looks good. Let me get that out of the way, bring my little guillotine trimmer in, and now I can get this really close to the edge, and then we'll flip it around, and it gives me more to hold on to cut these little pieces down. And then we just want to trim up the edge there so both sides are even, spaced around the word. And then I want to layer these kind of in the upper corner here. So we have text in each of our embellishment clusters, so I wanted to add a little text to the top, and then we can add this little blue half circle. I cut that down even more. I just kept giving it a trim, a little more, and then finally it was perfect. One last finishing detail I have from the Perfectly Imperfect Patterns. This is one of my favorite splatter stamps. And you may have, if a lot of stamp sets, especially florals, will have little like splattery bits to them. So check out your stamp collection and see what you have, because these are always fun to sprinkle about the page and just kind of add that final finishing little detail. So I'm just putting them around each embellishment cluster. Let me move that arrow so we can add that underneath there, and then we'll put our arrow back. I went through my ribbon collection and found a burlap green ribbon. I think burlap is very rustic, so it was perfect in the perfect color. And I'm going to staple this with my tiny attacher. I like to kind of haphazardly put a few staples in there in my more masculine layouts. I think that's kind of a fun little detail. Now this stamp has this row of arrows, and that's the Let's Go Anywhere card making workshop. And I'm going to flip this over because we're going to stamp right onto the background here. So I'm envisioning a little bit of just like this row of arrows, not all the way across, but just kind of, on either side of my little journaling block. So we'll add one there. And then I only adhered these down with tape. So the tape runner typically allows you to lift those up. Glue is kind of one and done, so I do appreciate tape. Sometimes I'll go in after the fact and reinforce things with glue, but let's go ahead and add the arrows on this side. I didn't want it quite as long, so I'm masking off just a small portion. Give it a moment to soak in, and I think this is going to be cute. When you do peel those up, sometimes you want to freshen up the tape though to make sure that they stick. We'll get that back into place there. Bring our little pine sprig back in. We'll sneak that guy under. And then I am going to add, I decided I wanted a row of arrows up top. So I'll go ahead and do that off camera, and you'll see that here in just a moment. We can flip this over here, and then let me give you a close-up look. Isn't that little splatter stamping fun? I just always appreciate that little detail. So my husband insisted I drank from the little water pump too, so it was just such a funny little moment. Everything that is still available, I will of course have that listed in the description box below. Just click the 3 dots or more, and it'll open up, and scroll down. You can find all of those details. If you're looking for more masculine scrapbook layout inspiration, you definitely want to watch this video right here. Thanks for tuning in and spending time with me, and I'll see you very soon on YouTube.